Alright, so here is day 28 of going through my journal entries. The quote for today is, "Don't ever let a bad day make you feel like you have a bad life." And the writing prompt says, "Have you ever had a bad day that was so bad it made you judge your entire life in a negative way? Write 5 things you can do to turn around your next bad day." And so if you're following along, just pause and take a few minutes to respond, and I'll be back on here in a second with my response. All right, day 28. So what did I say here? So this is if you've had a bad day that was so bad that made you judge your entire life in a negative way. And this is interesting because we had one a couple days ago talking about having a bad attitude, and I said that, for the most part I have a positive attitude, and I'm feel like I'm fortunate that for the most part I don't tend to let myself get down. But I'm wondering what I wrote here, because there has been times that I have gotten down. Like, I'm not just happy all the time or neutral all the time. So let's see what I said. I said, yes, I have days like that a few times a year. So not very often, but they do happen. So I said, most of the time they make me look back and wonder what I've done with my life, how I haven't made an impact, and how I likely won't make an impact. I feel lonely and like I don't matter in the world. The feeling is so deep and awful, and I feel like it will never go away, but it always does. When I feel like this, I wonder how people who have it worse off than me feel. Like, how do they even make it through life? I mean, if I feel that bad sometimes with everything that I have, how do some other people even survive? Oh, I can't believe I said this. I mean, I can, because I've thought it before. So I said, as dark as it is to say, I'm honestly surprised that more people don't themselves. Just because I say that, and especially over the last couple of years, I have had some, what I would say, I was depressed a few times, and it feels so bad and so awful. And I just think, for me, someone who is doing fairly well in life, I have a shelter, I have food, I have, I'm not super rich, but I have enough money to survive. I'm not living paycheck to paycheck anymore. And I'm just thinking, if I have all this and I still have days where I feel overwhelmed and feel terrible and bad, and I would say I've never seriously considered getting rid of myself, I guess. But I guess the way I think about it is, there are some times where I'm like, it wouldn't bother me so much if I wasn't here, I guess is the way to say it, or I'm not afraid of that. I mean, there's been one time in particular that I wasn't any close to the point of taking action, but thoughts were in my mind. There's been definitely one time I can remember, and maybe to that point a couple of times, but there was one time that was really, really bad, where it was more along the lines of, if I were going to do it, I started thinking about how would I do it? What method would I use? I guess what would be the easiest, way to do it. But as far as going beyond just the thoughts or whatever, that's it. But what I'm trying to say here is, if me, someone who doesn't have a lot of struggles or, in life, and I know there are people who have way harder struggles than me, if I'm having these thoughts, how many other people are having these thoughts? It's gotta be a lot. And whenever I used to see, when that would happen, when somebody would do that, when I was younger, And, you know, there'd be people that would be like, oh, that's just so selfish of them to do that. And I never thought that. But my thought was like, I couldn't imagine feeling that way, feeling the way that you would want to, you know, miss out on life. But once you go through like a time where you feel that way, you totally understand. You're just like, how could you be saying mean things about someone who's done that? Because for someone to do that, they have to be in such a down, miserable place. Like, instead of being compassionate with them, like to say that they're selfish for, you know, whatever, like that's, I mean, maybe there are a couple of cases where if they've done something like knowingly bad and instead of facing the consequences, they do it. Okay, maybe. But, you know, when it's just somebody who's been like silently struggling for a long time and, you know, whatever. But anyway, this got dark. Let's see what else. So I said, what gets me through is the fact that I've gotten through it before, so I know it will go away. And I know deep down that I can change my circumstances if I wanted, that I do have the resources to start over again with a new life in a new place if I wanted. And I start to feel grateful for what I do have. Also, sleeping it off and letting go of what's making me anxious helps, I think. And then I said, or the opposite, forcing myself to get up and do something. So I guess it just depends on like how it happens. And I think what was happening a lot a couple years ago, like it's been a while since I've been really down, but definitely last fall. And then it was like maybe a summer or two before that was when it was really, really bad. But last fall, even though I was really anxious and I was having a lot of these feelings, it wasn't that bad because I do have an out, like because I do have all of these things. You know, it's almost like I feel like I'm putting myself into that at some point because a lot of it is work and school. And I'm like, well, I could quit my job. I could quit my PhD program and like all of this anxiety would be gone. But, and I almost did. I literally almost did last fall. I was so close to just quitting and just starting over with something else. But thankfully I had a really supportive boss that helped me get through it. And I didn't quit, and I'm glad I didn't quit. And so I'm not saying like every situation is different. So if you're someone who's going through a similar situation and you're like, oh, I was thinking about quitting, but you stuck through it, like I should stick through it, like that's not gonna be the case. There are some toxic situations that I've seen people stick in way longer than they should because they didn't want to be quitters and it was not the best thing for them. So just, I don't know, really think it over, but then ultimately, you know, do what's best for you. But I don't know, I'm kind of, it's hard to say. Like I said, the fact that I've gotten through these times is what keeps me going forward. So I want to, you know, say if someone is going through a bad time, like, even though it feels really, really, really bad, you know, it does end. And like the first time that it happened, like I really was like, oh wow, like I'm never gonna be the same person again. Like, is this just me now from now on? And it did change, but you also have to like keep moving, keep doing things. Like, don't let yourself just like fall so deep in it. There is some element of like pushing yourself to, like, I would still, when I was feeling overwhelmed, a lot of times I would try to control it by organizing or cleaning my house or things like that, which I know a lot of people are the opposite. Like when they're depressed, their house gets messy and then it just gets too much, and so there's just chaos everywhere. And but I would be doing that to try to like control my anxiety, but then I would be like neglecting some of my work responsibilities and then just getting more anxious. And so I don't know, but at least I was still moving forward and like keeping my life somewhat together through it. But I know that's not the case for everyone. Not everyone is able to do that. But anyway, I didn't, I guess, write down 5 things you can do to turn it around. But I think the main thing is just knowing that it will likely go away. It's come and gone for me a few times. But if you have the energy or the ability on some days to do something to help you feel better to get out of it, then definitely do that, and try to push yourself as much as you can to get in a place where you're feeling better, or where you'll feel better. You know, take a shower, brush your teeth, see a family member if there's a family member that will make you feel better and not make you feel worse, because there are times that family members could make you feel worse, I think, or friends. But yeah, I guess that's my my response on that. And I will be back tomorrow for day 29.